as you all know, the title of today's event is Creating an Atmosphere of Happiness, and tying it up with this beautiful campaign of 7 billion acts of goodness. The question that I came up with for each one of our panelists, about 5 minutes, I request you to share with us your religious perspective on goodness and how practicing goodness, by performing small acts of goodness, if you will, can create an atmosphere of happiness in the world we live in. And I'll start with Reverend Gay on this, I guess. All right, from the Unitarian Universalist Church. And I guess there is a mic there. And thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me today. I appreciate the Brahma Kumaris organizing this event and the Hindu Temple hosting it. It's great to be here with all of you and with this panel. And so I'll begin. Unitarian Universalism comes from two particular philosophies that had their roots in the Christian tradition, but have gone on to create a faith movement that really focuses on values rather than beliefs. And so I would like to share what we have in common, which is that we try to live by 7 principles. These principles are not a creed. They are not set down in stone. They are not a dogma, but they are ways in which we try to live our lives. And so there won't be a quiz, but I'm going to give you the 7 principles and then explain how they help us in our search for goodness and peace and unity in the world. Our first principle is that we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The second is that we affirm justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. The third is that we accept one another and encourage one another to spiritual growth. The fourth principle is that we affirm a free and responsible search for meaning and truth. The fifth is that we believe in the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and within society at large. Our sixth principle is that we affirm the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And our final 7th principle is that we have respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. These principles help us to move towards what is right for the sake of what is right alone. But we don't do this individually, but within community. Our congregations are covenantal, which means that we intentionally agree on how we are together. It's an intentional relationship of respect and love. So when we act, we don't act individually, but we act as a congregation. We don't excommunicate or shun anyone who breaks this covenant. We simply call them back into covenant to try again in love. I say simply, but it's hard work, but it's very worthwhile. So in our 5th principle, we lift up conscience. And Lee Van Leer says that goodness always emanates from conscience, from an inward knowing of what is right. That which does not harm but helps, that which is not selfish but unselfish. And so choosing goodness leads us to exercise our conscience through acts of justice, compassion, inclusion, and hospitality. One slogan that we often use in Unitarian Universalism is deeds, not creeds. That it's better to act out our faith rather than simply proclaim it or codify it into something that doesn't breathe with life as it evolves. We believe that revelation is not sealed. We believe in the continuing unfolding of truth. And so I think we define goodness in the commitment to make this world a better place. And we have many good examples to follow in all faith traditions. And so we seek inspiration from multiple sources of wisdom and religion. But we have our own Unitarian Universalist martyrs like the Reverend James Reeb and Via Liuzzo, who in the 1960s answered Dr. King's call to come to Selma and take part in the civil rights struggle. Our congregation in Augusta has been choosing goodness since it was founded in 1954. One early deed was the Open Door Kindergarten, the first integrated kindergarten in Augusta, which was housed at our church for a couple of decades. More recently, our support for the LGBT community, our advocacy of marriage equality, and presently our commitment to Black Lives Matter and anti-racist work are part of our commitment to that very first principle, which is to respect the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So I think that Unitarian Universalists would say that goodness as such doesn't seem to come into play as much in the personal sense of contrasting it with bad or evil, as much as it does when we consider what we are called to do as part of the interconnected web of all existence. We believe in building the beloved community. And when we communicate graciousness, generosity, and openness, that is Unitarian Universalism at its best.
And next we have Jacqueline Jones from the Baha'i Faith, 5 minutes. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. I'm not technology oriented. Thank you so very much for inviting the Baha'i community here today. And as we were lighting the candles, I was moved. So it changed my whole thought process. And so bear with me. And the reason why I was moved, because in the Baha'i faith, very simply put, is that the Baha'i faith embraces the oneness of God, the creator of us all. Regardless of what name we may refer to that supreme being, we believe in the oneness of that. And therefore, too, we believe in the essential oneness of all religions. Because as you peruse your scriptures and your sacred documents, you will find this wonderful spiritual component. I think the eternal conduct is obvious evidence in all of those faith traditions. And then finally, we believe in the unity and the oneness of mankind. And so as we were lighting the candle, the idea of unity and its power for creating goodness and for bringing peace and improving our families, our neighbors, our communities, our country, and the world was symbolized by that. Because one candle can represent the unity of a faith community, and that's wonderful. 2 candles can represent the unity of a faith community and the unity of people from slightly different backgrounds. But as we lit more candles, the possibility of unity became greater, and its impact is greater, because 1 candle can light up a little bit corner. 2 candles, the corner gets a little bit more light. But as we increase the light of our interfaith connectedness, and our acceptance and belief in the oneness of mankind, then the candles and the lights can engulf the entire world. So as a Baha'i, let me just step back. For my birthday, I got a card from the AARP, so that tells you how old I am, a little bit. And Mark Twain said that the happiest days in a person's life are the day that they are born, and the second happiest day is when they find out why. Baha'u'llah, the messenger and prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, says very succinctly, he says that mankind, all of us, were created to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. All of us. And that our service, when doing that, is worship. Meditation, yes. Prayer, yes. But the meditation prayer should lead us to action. The prayers benefit us. Our Creator, He's beyond our prayers. And so therefore, the way that we serve our Creator is how we serve one another. So therefore, when you know why you have been created, then that informs and influences your life and everything that you do. So how do we manifest that? It's a wonderful verse, a wonderful statement, but how do we manifest that? Well, yes, in acts of goodness, in acts of kindness. What does that look like? It could be anything. As mentioned on the poster over there, which I was looking at, a smile. When I was working, I would tell my staff that I want you to be polite, I want you to smile, I want you to be wonderful, because that may be the only encounter that person has that day that uplifts their spirit. It can be holding the door, but also too, it can be using one's talents, one's knowledge, one's time, and helping another person realize their talents, increase their knowledge. Someone then can also too then help carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. One more thing. An ever-advancing civilization takes knowledge and technology and the sciences and all those things too. But unless it's wrapped in a spirit of brotherhood, of unity and kindness, our civilization will not advance. And so, one other quote from the Baha'i faith is that man can receive no greater gift than this, that he rejoices another's heart. In the spirit of unity, true unity, let us rejoice one another's and others' hearts.
Thank you. Very beautifully said. I remember long back I had gone to a Baha'i temple in New Delhi. It's the most beautiful temple. I still have the memory of that. It was amazing. And so next we have Mr. John Black of the Buddhist tradition. We have collaborated on a few service opportunities in the community of Augusta in the past couple of months. And it has been a great experience just being with John. What a wonderful human being, what a peaceful person. He has really worked very hard in this area, serving the community, and so we look forward for hearing from him.
Thank you. I'm basically going to speak about the Zen tradition. Buddhism is a big religion, has a lot of different branches. So most of my remarks are going to be dedicated toward, from the perspective of the Zen Buddhist tradition. I want to say thanks to Brahma Kumaris. I think what you've done here today is an act of intentional kindness to organize something for this community, and I appreciate that. I will say that Buddhism doesn't start from a premise of man as evil or sinful, but only ignorant about how things really are. As human beings, we all have potential for wisdom, but wisdom requires knowledge, it requires insight, training, and practice. And the Buddhist idea of training is somewhat unique. Reading books and understanding ideas doesn't do much. Just like reading endless books about exercise doesn't change you until you actually do the exercise. And that's the difficult part. The basic Buddhist premise that's related to goodness and kindness comes from the idea that the Buddhist version of the Golden Rule is something like, do unto others for others are really you. There's an illusion that we are disconnected or somehow separated from other people and the environment, and that interaction of that environment is what makes us who we are. And what is wholesome then for our environment and wholesome for other people, and creating happiness in other people also then creates happiness for ourselves. One of the things we do in our meetings is the deliberate expression of intention for kindness and compassion. And the Tibetan tradition is known as metta. And the first part of metta is actually the most difficult for most people, because it expresses the intentional extension and kindness of compassion for ourselves as worthy human beings struggling to make sense of a somewhat chaotic world. And actually that's difficult for a lot of people, but it's an important part, because once you can extend compassion to yourself, you're more willing to extend it to others. The second step then is to extend it to those we love. That's pretty easy. And then those that we occasionally come in contact with. It may be the guy that checked out the groceries. And also then we finally extend goodwill, intentional goodwill and compassion to those people that we have difficulty with. One of the things that we recognize in the training and the practice is that feelings of empathy really aren't adequate. Compassion includes the wisdom of a long view. Most of us have had the experience of being a parent, and while we empathize with the child's position, we can also see the consequences of that in bigger terms as they grow older, and we act responsibly, even though we have compassion and empathy for that child. The other thing is we can act compassionately even if we don't feel like it. And frankly, sometimes it's difficult to have the feelings of compassion that normally motivate us. But we still have the presence of mind and the capability to act with kindness and act with compassion. And often we find that feelings follow the action rather than being the precursor of action. So meditation in the Zen tradition is an act of compassion, for it allows us to tap the wisdom of a still mind and make decisions that are rational and helpful and will have consequences, both that are good for us and good for the people and the environment. It's also seen clearly. When the mind is stirred up with like a muddy water, it's really difficult to see. If you can meditate and let that mind settle down, and you believe in the inherent wisdom of a calm, meditative mind, and you can use that clarity to act. And finally, it's the discipline of practice. It's the fact that any compassion takes discipline, takes practice, it takes perseverance. In the end, goodness comes not just from intent or empathy, but from the wisdom and the courage to act. Acting regularly with wisdom, whether we feel like it or not. Acting with compassion for the environment, acting with compassion for each other. Buddhism is also somewhat unique in that it looks at other religions and sees them as different paths to the same goal. So we're at ease with all the other religions of the world which strive to act compassionately and develop goodness in people and help them find their way to goodness and kindness in their life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate that. And so next is Surekha to start.
We bring to you Hinduism's perspectives of goodness. As in all religions, Hinduism gives utmost importance to goodness. The main aspects of goodness, as mentioned in Hinduism, are goodness in action, goodness in communication, and goodness in thought. To elaborate on each one of these aspects of goodness, First, I'd like to focus on goodness in action through altruism, empathy and compassion for all life forms, charity and righteous conduct. Hinduism says goodness leads to happiness, and happiness greatly increases by sharing one's pleasures with others and by alleviating the pain of others. Putting this philosophy to practice is not easy for most people, but Hindu scriptures make it easier, and here is how. First, the scriptures state unanimously that the Lord is not only the creator of all beings, but is also the antaryami, or indweller of all beings. They then state that true goodness is to see Him in everything and everywhere, as in Sarvam Brahmamayam Jagat, and to hence treat the pleasure and pain of others as one's own. The scriptures go a step further and emphasize that a person who achieves this true goodness of treating everyone as one's own self attains the Lord permanently and never becomes separated from Him. True goodness in Hinduism comes with one more caveat, and that is doing good to all life forms without expectations of reciprocity. And this goes back to the theory of karma, which is unique to Indian religions. The theory of karma states that doing good deeds with expectations of reciprocity can help one attain God for some time, but will cause separation from Him through rebirth. But rebirth is not necessarily viewed as a bad thing. Every birth is to be treated as a great opportunity to refine the goodness in oneself and attain God permanently, never to be reborn. This is essentially salvation, moksha, or nirvana in Hinduism. Hinduism stresses the importance of empathy and compassion, not only toward fellow humans, but also toward every form of life, however small it may be, because the Lord is that one indweller in every life form. From this reverence for all life forms stems the principle of ahimsa, or non-violence, and the widespread practice of vegetarianism among Hindus, which perhaps keeps some animals happy in the world. Charity is yet another aspect of goodness which is held in high esteem by all religions, and acts of charity are mandatory for Hindus. Hindu scriptures mention 3 levels of charity, and 3 verses from the Bhagavad Gita convey this clearly. The first verse refers to the most superior type of charity and states, charity given as a matter of duty at a place, at the right place and right time to a deserving candidate, expecting nothing in return, is considered to be charity in the mode of goodness and will help attain God permanently. The next verse refers to the second level of charity and states, charity given unwillingly or in order to get something in return or as a reward is said to be charity in the mode of self-centeredness, and this tainted goodness will only help attain God temporarily. And the third type of charity referred in this next verse is charity given at a wrong place and time to unworthy people, or charity which belittles the receiver, and this is said to be charity in the mode of ignorance or arrogance, and will certainly not help attain God. And now, am I out of time? All right, very good.
Well, but if you want to have some concluding remarks.
Very good. I'd like to end with a small prayer, which is typically said at the end of every Hindu religious service or religious functions, and that is Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, which translates to, may the entire universe be happy. And I would like to end this piece with the same prayer, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
First of all, I'd like to say that it's an honor to be here, and it's an enlightening experience. And we got to light a candle, which is quite out of the ordinary, living in Augusta, because it's so hot anyways. You know, I originally come from Pakistan, where we used to light candles when the electricity would go out. But I haven't done that in a long time, and it feels good to do so. With regards to the religious perspective, the Islamic perspective on goodness, we have a verse from the Quran in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, God, the Almighty, says, لَيْسَ الْبِرَّ أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبَلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ وَلَكِنَّ الْبِرَّ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ وَالْكِتَابِ وَالنَّبِيِّينَ. He says, it is not righteousness that you turn your faces towards the east or the west. Because many times we tend to focus as religious people, as a certain, you know, in all religions there are always those people who focus so much on the rituals that they define goodness as someone who does the rituals that they do. But God Himself says that yes, rituals are good. They are there to help you. However, what is true goodness, what is true righteousness is something beyond that. And He says, وَلَكِنَّ الْبِرَّ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ وَالْكِتَابِ وَالنَّبِيِّينَ. Rather, truly righteous are those who believe in God, who believe in the last day, that on that last day we will be held accountable for what we have done in this world. We will answer for the good things that we have done, and the good things that we should have done but did not do, and the things that we did but we should not have done. وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ, and who believe in the angels, because the Islamic belief is that we have angels who are assigned to each and every single one of us, who write down everything that we do. And on the Day of Judgment, this record of deeds will be presented along with us at the mercy of our Creator. And His mercy dominates His anger. وَالْكِتَابِ وَالنَّبِيِّينَ, and those who believe in the book, the scripture, which teaches us all the goodness, and the messengers that came to teach us. وَآتَ الْمَالَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ, and who give away some of their wealth, however much they cherish it. It's easy for all of us to give wealth which is extra. But true charity is to give wealth which is not extra. We need it, but somebody else needs it more. وَآتَ الْمَالَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ ذَوِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ, to give some of their wealth to the orphans, to the needy, to the relatives, to the travelers, to the beggars, and to liberate those in bondage, and those who keep up the prayer and pay the prescribed alms, who keep pledges whenever they make them. You know, one of the things that Islam defines as goodness is that if you make a promise, fulfill that promise. Because it really shows a lack of concern for the other person when a person makes a promise and does not fulfill that promise. Who keep pledges whenever they make them, who are steadfast in misfortune, adversity, and the times of danger. Who keep steadfast in times of adversity and danger is true goodness, because it's easy to be good when everything else is going along with us. But when things are going against, the wind is blowing in the other direction, to remain steadfast upon your principles of goodness that you have always claimed, now is the real test. So those who remain steadfast are the ones who are true, and that's exactly the words of God. He says those are the ones who are true, and it is they who are aware of God. Every good deed in Islam is considered an act of charity, and charity is something which is encouraged again and again all across the Quran. every good deed, encouraging somebody to do good, trying to prevent somebody from doing evil, smiling at someone's face to make them feel better, cheer them up, is considered a charity. To give water to someone is considered a charity. To serve food and assist in that, to guide a lost person, help a blind person cross, remove harmful objects from the road. This is actually, there's a statement of the Prophet Muhammad that the lowest level of faith is to remove something harmful from the road. That a person sees something harmful in the path of the people and simply continues to go on upon his business shows a true lack of faith, a true lack of faith. And to join someone, help a blind person cross, remove harmful objects from the road, spending on one's family is considered a charity. To give excess food, to translate for someone, or to be a spokesperson for someone who needs help, spending on one's own needs. These are all acts of charity. The Prophet ﷺ said that the food that you eat is a charity. So don't be the person who's giving to everyone else but neglecting his own self. And the food that you give to your family, the expenses that you spend upon your own family, this is considered a charity, because we all know there are so many people who are good to the outside but are not so good to their own families.
Thank you.
Okay. Whoever brings a land which is dead back to life by watering it, by seeding it, so that some vegetation can grow on it, some animals, some birds, some insects can benefit from that, even that is an act of charity. So I again pray that we all become people who are true in their claim of proponents of goodness. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I request the mic be passed on a little bit. And so, yes, we'll have Rabbi share with us his faith's perspective on goodness, please.
Thank you. It's good to be here today. I wasn't sure at first whether it was appropriate for me to come because today is the Jewish Sabbath. We call it Shabbat. The seventh day begins Friday night at sundown and ends dark on Saturday night. But then I started thinking, well, I don't go to business meetings on Shabbat, but this isn't a business meeting, and I am going to temple. The Jewish place of worship is a synagogue, but sometimes called a temple. But even more than that, Shabbat is a time for study, for learning, for teaching, and so appropriate for me to come and talk about Judaism, and especially to learn from others. So I decided, yes, it's a wonderful to be able to be here today, a privilege to be able to be with you. I wasn't sure about the topic a little bit because at some point I thought it was goodness and then it was happiness, and are they the same thing, and distinguish on, I think in terms of, I translate things back into Hebrew, in terms of Jewish terminology. On December 31st we say Happy New Year. But that kind of happiness is different than what we're talking about here. And a lot of times when people think happiness, that's what they're looking for or expect. On the Jewish New Year, we say Shana Tova, a good New Year, not a happy New Year, a good New Year. And I think in some ways that's more appropriate what we're looking for. And of course, one can do good and suffer from it in some ways. When you're saving a life, you're doing good, you may suffer, but there may be an inner happiness and an inner contentment that comes from that, a sense of accomplishment, even though you're not happy on that joyous December 31st, January 1 kind of happiness, but the satisfaction that comes from helping other people. In Judaism, we're told the importance of justice, of righteousness, love your neighbor as yourself, and the acts of loving kindness. And through those acts, happiness should follow, although maybe not always, but we should do it anyway. We're told that God looked at the world and he saw that it was good. And when he created human beings, he saw that it was very good. sometimes people misuse that word happiness too in the wrong places. When I hear people say, I hope you have a happy Memorial Day. Well, I know what they mean. I'm not going to say anything, but we're told that we are all created in the image of God. God treats people with loving kindness. We refer to that in Judaism as gimilut chasadim. We're taught in the ancient literature that the world stands on three things: on Torah, first 5 books of the Bible, all of Jewish literature, on learning, on avodah, which in ancient times was sacrifices, but now on worship, on ritual, and on gimilut chasadim, on acts of loving kindness. So acts of loving kindness being one of the foundations of the world. And looking at some of the sources, it talks about visiting the sick, it talks about comforting the mourner, and even burying the dead. Because here's a person who can't thank you in any way. We perform acts of loving kindness not for thanks, not for gratitude, but because it's the right thing to do. Charity, the word tzedakah, similar word to the Arabic, I believe, really means righteousness and justice. Usually, tzedakah is usually directed toward the poor, whereas gimilut chasadim, acts of loving kindness, involves acts of goodwill to all people, whether they're rich or poor, healthy or sick, successful or unsuccessful. The acts of loving kindness, even more important in many ways than the tzedakah, because you're actually acting and doing something to help people. Providing food, providing shelter, providing clothing, words of caring, saying thank you. When you make a call or you get one of those calls and you're supposed to respond about how things were, sometimes we talk to a supervisor. Usually it's to criticize. Maybe to call to ask for a supervisor to say how wonderful this person was, how positive the experience was. Give compliments as well as complaints, act of loving kindness. Sometimes it comes from our tone of voice, from the smile, and we're told that to embarrass a person, on the other hand, embarrassing a person publicly, the literature says, is almost as if murder. It was murder. You're taking someone's life by doing that. One thing, and my time's up, just a few more seconds. I took out my cell phone to hit the timer, not to see what my email was. It's not in the material I found about gimilut chasadim, but the command to care for animals, to ensure that they don't suffer. That an animal, you milk the cow on the Sabbath. You don't do any work, but you milk the cow because you don't want it to suffer. You feed your animals before yourself. So that's kindness. Maybe not exactly gimilut chasadim, but acts of kindness that we do even for the animals. Whether they can return acts of loving kindness, the animal can be loyal, the animal can be caring, but not in the same way that people are. And I think that maybe that's one of the things that makes us human, makes us different. We're told in Judaism that the righteous of all peoples, of all nations, have a place in the world to come. Righteousness includes many other things, but especially those acts of kindness. If there's a reward at the end of time, at the end of our lives, acts of kindness will be so important.
Thank you very much. Dr. Singh for Sikhism.
Good evening. I'm so glad, for goodness sake, we have a topic, goodness. Sikh religion is very not old religion. It's about 600 years old when Guru Nanak started it. His mission was to establish peace amongst various communities, various religions, and various regions of the Southeast Asia at that time. He has traveled in many, many parts of Iraq, Iran, Middle East, up north Bhutan, and south Sri Lanka, and east on Thailand and Burma, and so on and so forth. Basic 3 principles are in Sikh religion. Let me put my glasses on. Naam Japna, that means honest living, spiritual growth, reading, meditation with God. Kirt Karni, honest living. And Seva Karni, serving the community. These three principles, first principle, Nam Japna, it dictates the remaining two principles. You are, when you do your prayers in the morning and in the evening, and dedicate your life to God, that means you're committing that you are going to do honest living. So you maintain your self-dignity, and you are providing the service to the community without self-interest. That is to help others, maintain the justice in the community, help the poor and the weak, respect other religions, be a good follower of your own religion. That's how Guru Nanak started Langar, the free kitchen we call it. That's where everybody comes and sits together, no matter whether you're rich, poor, or who you are, irrespective of your status in the community. You sit together and eat together, share the same food, means you are respecting each other as a human being. Again, through the meditation, you're spreading the word of God for humanity. One God is our principle. As we say in our religion, Manas ki jaat sab ek pehchane. All mankind are the same and created equal. And I think that sums up the goodness amongst the people. I have many examples, latest examples. Let's say that recent flooding and fires in Sacramento area, Sikh temples in Sacramento opened their doors, so hundreds and thousands of people who were displaced could go and take shelter there. Latest bombing in Manchester in England. The Sikh temple was closed by, the Sikh drivers came, they brought their cars, took the injured people to the hospital. Why? It was the God's calling for goodness. That's what it is. It's not for us charity, it's the human right to serve other human rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so we have Noreen Balish for Christianity.
Well, I am glad I'm last, because I can say I agree with everything.
You're second last, actually.
Pardon?
You're second last.
Second to the last, excuse me. Other than the keynote speaker, I understand. But I would like to say I agree with everything that has been stated thus far. And I would like to briefly say I'm going to steal some of the rabbi's thunder since he stole mine, because he quoted the golden rule. So what I'm going to say is, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And God said, let there be light. And he saw the light, and it was good. And after he had created the entire earth, he said, it was very good. So I, unlike perhaps some more fundamental Christians, believe that human beings are created fundamentally good. Now, if you speak to some of my fellow Christians, they'll talk about things like original sin, the need to be saved, the fact that you've got to be washed in the blood, and so on and so forth. And I did believe that way for many years. But lucky for me, I studied quite a bit. I exposed myself to other religions. And I learned the fact is that God loves all human beings. And in fact, that is the true message of my Lord Jesus. And that is the message of the gospel being the good news. Now, whether or not other Christians agree with me, I believe, indeed, there's a very unusual activity in the world that is bringing all of God's creation together. And I do believe that one day there will be a peaceful, unified earth where everyone, despite their different colors, creeds, races, or religions, they're going to live in harmony and peace, and I think that's ultimately God's will. I would also like to point out that sometimes people think Christians are so dogmatic because Jesus is reported to have said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me." But my retort to that is, the way, the truth, and the life preceded Jesus, and in fact, preceded God's creation. Because remember, God created everything out of his own word. Now, we believe Jesus, the Word made flesh, was the perfect example, the perfect human model, prototype that we can follow. But I also believe that God has manifested himself in different cultures, different religions, and in different human experiences, which represent all the people present here today. I believe that God loves all human beings, and he wants, first and foremost, for us to be good human beings, to love our fellow man. And I believe that all of my holy book bears this out. The only way to be good is to do good, to show goodness to our fellow man. Now, there's an old story in the New Testament when Jesus was asked by the rich young ruler, "Lord, what must I do to be saved? Good master, what must I do to be saved?" And Jesus replied, "Why do you call me good? There's no one good but God." And I do believe that all goodness is manifest from God. But the moral of that parable was, if you want to be perfect, you should serve your fellow man selflessly. You know, Jesus said, sell everything you have, give it to the poor, follow me. Then you can know what true goodness is. I believe that goodness is something that we all have a spark of in our heart. I remember when I was in college, I took a class called about Hinduism, of all things. And my professor, my Hindu professor, had a little poster on his wall and it said, "Soul is where it's at, man." And I thought that was so cool. And then as I was a little bit younger, I always used to hear the song by the Beatles called "Here Comes the Sun." Everybody knows that song, right? Do, 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 here comes the sun. Well, when I was like 10, I thought they were saying son like Jesus, the Son of God. So when I got older and I went, oh, no, he's talking about the light, the sun. So I kind of had this interpolation of sun and sun. But the fact of the matter is, there is something very beautiful about Hinduism that kind of tweaks my heart when I think about it, because I'm such a Beatle fan. And of course we know George was a good Hindu. So on that happy note, I will end my little talk right now and pass it over to our keynote speaker. And thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you too. So we will have a separate presentation by our keynote speaker, but in a couple of minutes I'll request him to speak. But before that, actually, I wanted to share this letter that our mayor has written for him. The mayor wanted to come, but unfortunately he could not. And so he has written, "Dear Mr. Ram Singhal, on behalf of the city of Augusta, Georgia, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to our city. Your story of escape from the World Trade Center attacks on September 11, 2001 stands as a source of hope and inspiration for so many. Thank you for sharing your story and encouragement with people around the globe, and for your diligent work in promoting 7 billion acts of goodness. As you gather with others to meditate on peace and hope for the world, I hope that you find your time in Augusta to be enjoyable. Sincerely, Hardy Davis Jr., the Mayor." And I'm going to present this to Brother Ram Singhal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all of you. My heart goes out to all of you, because I have to say one thing, that in my these 3-4 years when I had been actively doing these programs, different parts of the world, there was this desire. I had gone to people from the different religion one particular time. but there was this desire that coming together, interfaith, everybody talking about goodness as per their belief system, because goodness is universal, and that is what the idea behind this program, that goodness is within all of us, no matter what culture, what background, everybody. And this program also, I wish it had been recorded, whatever everybody said. Have we recorded? I hope. Oh. So is it okay we can use some of your codes somewhere? Yeah, that's okay. Can use it. You know, I really had that feeling because I had gone to various places and I will ask them that this program is one thing is grassroots level. People, ordinary people doing ordinary good things. And also goodness does not have to be great. It does not have to be at the high point. The lowest denominator, as somebody said, even if you can smile at somebody, you can somebody take across the street, or taking away something which is not, which is harmful, or doing something which is above and beyond your duty and obligation. We say that we all do good things in life, but what is an act of goodness? It goes little bit beyond that. And I will share this thing. My own life, I had been with meditation for the last 43 years, and it had changed my life. I have done my part of all the wrong things, being in the college, everything. If somebody had asked my mother, we are 10 children, big family. If somebody had asked my mother, who you think will be the last person to be spiritual? It was a no-brainer for her, this one. I rebelled, I did all the wrong things, I broke all the rules, regulations of the typical family. But here I am, after 43 years. I, at that time, decided in my life that my whole life is for the humanity. So, I remained single with my decision at 22 years old that I am not going to get married. And so that all my resources, they will go towards the society. Because naturally, if you get married, your children, you don't take care of them. What kind of charity you will do if you don't take care of your children in the family? I will not be a good example. But if I don't get married, then I can do. And one thing I found, actually when I don't get married, I belong to everybody. Really, everybody is mine. And I find it is so easy for me to get connected with everybody. They say that you belong to everybody unless you are taken, right? Right? So, I had been taken by God. And everyone is children of God. So that means I belong to everybody. That is what I saw. And in my life also, like I'm a civil engineer by profession, but I looked at spirituality as spiritual engineering. It's energy. See, we understood there is every action, there is equal and opposite reaction, but reaction or what goes around comes around, that equation holds based on what is the impact of that action. I could be doing good action, but with arrogance or showing off for name and sake. So what will happen? The value of that action will get reduced. I could be doing very, very small act, something good, but with good intention, selflessly, the value of that action can go up. So that means that is how I see a total impact of an action is based on what I physically do, my time, space, energy I spend, but the second thing is my intent. How I did it, what was my attitude when I performed that action. Like I saw that, I could see the clear picture in my mind. You can increase the value of your action. Supposing you have to go to some friend's party, birthday party, but you can't afford much. Say you have only $2 or $5. What should I do? Then I love that person so much, but I don't have the resources to show my love. So the person buys a couple of rose flowers, take off all the thorns from there, and wrap it so nicely, and pick those, the white flowers, tiny ones, what they call them, right? Those tiny little ones, and put nice leaves around it, make a beautiful bouquet, and then also write down from the heart some of the good things about that person. Even that person may not be aware of. Something special about that person. And then writing this note and taking that, go for humility, say, happy birthday. I love you so much, but that's all I can afford. What the other person will say. You don't know how much it means to me, because it is not the gift, but the way you are bringing it up with so much love and humility here. There could be another person. Now you could see the value of that $5 gift has been increased. Now somebody is coming with a couple of $100 gift, but showing off, bragging about it, making everybody feel I can afford, you cannot, putting everybody down. What will happen? The host might even feel, I wish that person had never brought that gift, because somewhere dignity is getting challenged. And people will die for the dignity. So that means the $200 gift got, the value got reduced. So that's how I see being an engineer, that there is the potential of multiplying the impact of any action I perform. This is how I grew up. And this is how I did at my job. I came to America. I will never hide anything which I learned. Otherwise people will think, Ram, if you give away all your secrets, people are going to, once they know all the secrets, they will shunt you out. You will become irrelevant. But I somehow had that feeling that good action will bring goodness. For the sake of goodness, for the sake of that creating that environment, somebody has to start. And I have to report that somehow or another I kept doing it, but I kept growing even in my profession. I think I can call myself to be pretty reasonably successful engineer. But I also had this feeling that my job when I come to work is only an excuse to share whatever I have to share. And that is how I grew up in my life. And there was always this desire, what more I can do, what more I can do. Now the World Trade Center happened. I want to share some of the things, what happened to me and what happened afterwards. I was on the 64th floor when the plane hit. Our tower was hit first. My first reaction was, it's an earthquake. I even shouted, earthquake, earthquake. But somehow or another building went 6-7 feet this way, then that way, then that way, then it came to stand still. Then we knew it's not an earthquake, because an earthquake, the building will keep on oscillating. But it stopped. So then thought maybe a small plane must have hit, and we had no problem with that because building was very strong. But then people came to me, Ram, what should we do? There is a reason why they came, because I had developed structural integrity program, how to maintain the entire complex. All the towers, there were 7 towers, and 2 were the big ones. And it took us 1 year to develop that program. How to inspect the building, and wherever the deficiencies are, how to rectify them so that the life of the towers continue to increase. Because I knew all those things, some people thought that, I will have some better idea. And I knew there are 3 stairs, emergency stairs. So we started going down. And as we are going down, People started to say, second plane, second plane. So second building was hit. And I remember saying to people, shut up, shut up. You don't want to create panic. But that has become clear now. It is an act of terrorism and all that. And then, what happened? Other tower collapsed. So whilst the tower was collapsing, we went to really shaking of our building. The floor is shaking, the walls are shaking, the plaster is falling, pipelines are rattling with each other, emergency light flickering, and siren, such a high pitch was constantly going, and that is when people started to get into panic. And then what we found out, because of collapsing of the other tower, our stairs got blocked. So we had to change to other stairs. So we went to the second stairs, but people are getting a little more panic. But then what happened? All of a sudden, we found water started to gush down the stairs because the pipelines must have broken, and water was coming with such a high speed, if we don't hold on to the handrail, we will go wash down. And it happened to one or two people getting hurt. So holding the handrail, we are coming down, and then we are told we have to even change that stairs. What had happened? That the stairs had broken from underneath. So we had to go to the last one. In order to go through the last one, we had to go through total pitch dark corridor. Water is falling on top of us, water is under our ankle high, and we are holding the wall, slowly walking, and once in a while, the emergency lights battery had gone down, but once in a while they will flicker, and we could see the wires hanging on top of us. So we had to duck down, holding the wall. Slowly we came out to the corridor, and when we went to the third stairs, we came down, and we came out. We had gone only about 4 or 5 minutes, felt that the ground is shaking. We looked towards our building is collapsing. We were so close to the building, if it had toppled in our direction, we would have come underneath. We ran from there literally. And we came out, of course the building came down like that. Now there were some people, they were together with me, but after we came out of the danger, many people went their own way, but few people still wanted to be with me. They said, we want to be with you until we are out of problems and all that. So we have a meditation center in Manhattan, near Empire State Building. So I brought them over there, offered them food, and they did some meditation. At night, we all went home when the train started to run. Now next morning, I started calls from everywhere for interview, from the foreign land, from different parts of the world, and there were few things I wanted to share, that how that later on what happened. Now one thing they are asking, that look, they did such a terrible thing, how will you take revenge? I'm saying to them that today they took revenge, tomorrow we take revenge, then they take revenge. Where is the end? People will keep getting killed. So we have to start the healing process. I'm talking about next day, and you could see how much I was connected with those towers. I remember we get up early in the morning, meditation, and I'm feeling like my heart is sinking. How much effort I had put. I had even given training to the people who will be doing the inspection. So I was very much related. All of a sudden, it's not there. So you feel that emptiness. But one thing I said to myself, Ram, move ahead. Don't look back. Move ahead. Move ahead. And now, when I say moving ahead means I have to stop thinking revenge or something, but healing. And that comes from forgiveness. But then question came to my mind, who should I forgive? I have no clue who did it, how it happened, whatever. Who can I forgive? So I kept going around thinking, who should I forgive? Then I found, actually, I am the one who has done so many wrong things in life. So on that day, I said to myself, Ram, today is the day you forgive yourself for all the wrong things you have done in life. And I did that. Now I really want to tell that once I did that, I was flying. I felt so light. Because you know that even when we are 5, 6, 7 years old, there are certain things we did, up till now they are haunting us. You know, isn't it? There are few things which I wish I had never done it. But you never think that I can do something on that day when I forgave myself. You know, I learned something. It has become my nature. It made me so light. You know, lots of, I was really excitement. I was telling people my story. Look, I did this. People came with me. I took them to meditation. So for me, that crisis became opportunity to show myself and all kind of things. And people thought I am in a state of denial. I am just making up, you know, but I am going to crash one day. Never happened. They are 17 years now, 16 years. So what I really did, it has become my nature. Anytime I see somebody doing something wrong, rather than getting angry at that person, I find something wrong I did, and I forgive myself. Anytime I saw somebody doing something wrong, rather than scolding them or feeling bad about them, you start to forgive yourself for something you have done wrong. Say yesterday or day before yesterday, I find that really, really works. So that has become my nature. And that what happens is, when what I notice when somebody has done something wrong, they're already suffering from the guilt. So real forgiveness is not that not to take revenge. When I don't take revenge, then I am sending that person empty-handed, because that person has not forgiven himself or herself. So the real forgiveness is to find something good about that person and make them feel good about themselves and then send them. That is the total forgiveness. That is what I really felt. I did it, and I am trying to live with that. Second experience I had was people were asking, we were there more than 1.5 hours in the tower. And they were asking, could you share some of the moments when you felt you will not make it? Fear went through your mind. And I noticed, I was amazed too. How come I really, really never felt any fear in my whole 1.5 hours? Then I'm questioning myself, how that can be possible? How that can be possible? The only thing I could think, the reason I could think of is because I was trying to help other people. And because I was trying to help other people, I got helped. I forgot my own fears. I think we all have that experience. Anytime when somebody even shared that when you find somebody, you are going through pain, but when you find somebody else bigger pain than you have, you start to help that person, your pain gets taken care of by the higher being, by nature, by circumstances. So what I will do, we are all coming down, how much help can I provide to anybody? But I am watching, whilst everybody is rushing down, I am watching that if anybody needs some help, to give them encouragement and all that. I was thinking I had been doing meditation for the last 28 years. If I act like everybody else, so what's the point? Why am I doing meditation? Thought was, what can I do for the people? So I will stay back and watch. Anytime I see somebody in difficult situation, I say, have faith in God and everything will be okay. But then, when some sound will come, when you're going through that kind of trauma, any sound come, you are shaken up. And I could see the eyes filled with fear, and they will scream, the woman. And what I will do, quietly, rather than rushing down, I will just step back, bring them in front of me, and I will say to them that we are all together. We will all go, we will be okay. Now, it is not a big thing that 2 steps behind and 2 steps ahead, not a big deal. I just stepped back. You know what people were telling me? They were so happy I am with them. They were even calling me, oh, you are our angel. You know, I'm thinking, wow, that is pretty good deal. Just step 2 back, step 3, you become an angel. But what I learned from there was, in the time of need, in the time of crisis, even small act you do to help somebody, it goes a long way, it multiplies tremendously. That was my experience. The other experience I had was that somewhere this feeling that all the good things you do in your life, and you feel that I have not been served justice. We have this feeling many times, I do so many good things, but we suffer. Or sometimes people even make fun of me. They think I am a stupid person, and they take even help from me. You know, people take advantage of me. Do we have that complaint? Oh, I am a good person, but I am suffering. People take advantage of me. I used to feel the same thing too. But what I had seen in my life, that people who took advantage of me, somehow they remained at the same level, and I kept growing in my life. That is where a simple thing came to my, as a simple engineering, and I started talking about it, and I felt too, people can take advantage of me only if I have advantage, or I am at advantage. I am here, other person is here, energy flows from the higher level to lower level. Simple physics. Then I say, okay, you know, people say, I am a good person, I will do 10 times, at least you do 1 time for me, right? I mean, it's pretty good, right? 10 times I do, you do 1 time. What more you can think of? But question is, any time I have to receive, I am here, other person is here. In order to receive, where I have to go? I have to come down. And maximum where I will reach only up to their level, but I was there. So you will notice, which I also noticed, any time when you have to do like this, you have to go below your dignity. That is why, if we really think, do I feel happy when I'm doing like this? Or do I feel happy when I'm doing like this? So that is how I saw that when people take from you, you keep on receiving from God, from nature, from circumstances. Like water comes out of the faucet, only then the water starts to flow in the pipeline. Only when the air becomes light and goes up, winds start to blow. Electricity flows only from high voltage to low voltage. Air flows from the high pressure to low pressure. So actually, it is a process of giving, letting go. That is how the whole universe runs. That is how I was thinking about never be afraid of being a good person. That is what my feeling was. Now, somebody say to me, Ram, you are very innocent. People are using you. You have that complaint sometimes? People are using me, right? You know what I say to them now? Oh, people are using me, that means I am useful. Otherwise, I will become useless. So, value of a person is only as much you can get used, right? So, these kind of things are coming to my mind constantly. And one of the things, you know, like sometimes we don't even realize, survival guilt. We lost 10 people in our office because they decided to stay back. And by the time they started, it was too late. So, what I, at that time, what I was saying, how come I was saved? And, you know, like, question was that how I can be justified that I got saved. Other people had died. You know, at that time I took a silent kind of promise with my own self that the rest of my life will only be for the service to the humanity. Like, even though I did it 22 years when I was at age, but that was reaffirmation that my life, so that my life that I was saved can be justified. So I was constantly thinking of what can be done, something bigger thing, something bigger, something bigger. And then what happened, in 2008 December, there was a cover story in Time magazine. The topic was happiness is contagious. So what they had done study on about 5,000 people for 20 years. So what their findings were that like flu, one person has a flu, many people get flu. So it's contagious. Same way, emotions also travel the same way. They are also contagious. So what their findings were is somebody feels happy, just without any reason, few people who know that person will be happy. Then looking at those people happy, people knowing that that number of people, they will become happy. Then looking at that, how many other people will become happy? They say up to 3, row, the layers, people will feel happiness even if they don't know each other. But they say, but that is because they could measure, I don't know what was their mode of measurement, but they were able to, they say after that it becomes faded away and all that, but up to 3, layers, people feel happy. Then they gave also the example of, like we play the ball, and then all the sad balls, in the when we play the, what you call, what we call that, billiard or snooker or billiard or something else they say here in America, what we call a pool, pool table, right? And so all the balls are, they show the sad ball, faces and one happy ball. And one happy ball hit the first sad ball, all the balls become happy balls. So like a chain reaction and domino effect and all that, that is where some thought started to come that what I had seen, that, that means happiness can spread. But the question is that how the happiness comes. That is where I went into my life back to, and I have heard from people's experiences that you feel happy when you're able to do something good to somebody. You really, really feel happy. That is where the point came that means goodness will bring happiness. But the question is that what could be goodness, act of goodness? Because I could see if one terrorist can shake the whole world, why not one good act shake the whole world, like in the pool table? There could be chain reaction of that too. I also knew, like people come and do the program, anger management, stress management, so many people will come. Very exciting program, But when we say program of goodness, oh, that is boring. Goodness looks like boring. So the thought was, can we make goodness as exciting? That was the thought. Exciting. It should excite people. And then I'm thinking about it, somewhere the definition of goodness was that when you do something good above and beyond your duty or obligation, something you're not required to do. How I saw that atomic explosion, when we talk about chain reaction, the atomic energy come in the picture, atoms hit each other, then they split, a tiny portion of the atom, fraction, does not get connected with anything, that turns into nuclear energy, and the conversion factor is E is equal to mc square. You have Einstein's formula. And just to give you just a magnitude of that, if we convert 1 kilogram of water into total energy, how much energy it will produce? Equal to 10 million gallons of gasoline. That much energy is stored in 1 kilogram of water. So that means so much exists in the nature. It's a matter of tapping it. So that is where the thought came, the act of goodness is that little portion which was extra, that turns into chain reaction. I also know back home, anytime when somebody has to give gift for $100, they don't give 100. They give 101. They say $100 is my give and take. Sometimes you give, sometimes I give. That's give and take. But $1 in the name of humanity, in the name of God, isn't it? If somebody did not know. So that is where this thing came up, this program. Came in the picture, act of goodness, something I do, what I normally will not do. which will not, that means I am coming out of my limits. That breaking out of my limits to go and do something good. That portion which I do extra, that will be considered act of goodness. So, like the chain reaction, atomic energy also is when a critical mass is reached, when there is explosion. You know, atom keeps splitting, they keep on creating the chain reaction of energy, they keep growing. When the critical mass is reached, only then there is explosion. So the question was that we can, you know, bring the explosion of goodness and happiness too. Why we are talking so much about atomic explosion, nuclear explosion? Why not think of the explosion of goodness and happiness, and how that could come by doing small acts of goodness, something above and beyond my duty and obligation, and that extra portion will create the chain reaction of goodness and happiness. And that is how we brought up this program. Then also people, you know, one thing I have to say, that when I was listening to all of you, I got so many ideas. How many acts are acts of goodness? Everybody shares. And somehow I feel if I get all those, you know, the deeds, they are considered act of goodness. So we can make even a list of that. And that is how we started this program, doing a little bit more than what I am supposed to do. And that looks like a boring thing, but I am doing it. Since 8 years, I am constantly thinking where I can go a little bit extra. I could be totally tired. And I said, there is no energy left in me, and somebody is looking for help, and I will say internally, act of goodness. Let me go beyond my time. And I have seen, when I see the blessings I receive from the person I helped, even my tiredness, you know, disappear. You must have, I think we all have that experience. You know, like doing something with love, tiredness goes away. So that is what we talk about. That the question was, what could be the, you know, the critical mass. That is where we thought there are 7 billion people, and if collectively we can perform 7 billion people, 7 billion acts of goodness, is lot. 7 billion. So we thought if you do 3 good actions per day for 1 month, 1 year, it will become 1095. But act of goodness is not only towards your friends and relatives and all that, but act of goodness starts with your own self. Supposing you make a mistake, rather than scolding yourself, feeling guilty, you forgive yourself, with love you change yourself. That's an act of goodness towards your own self. Self-respect is an act of goodness. Feeling good about yourself is an act of goodness. It starts from the self and then it spreads outside too. So, I can see the time I wanted to show some of the videos, you know, some simple thing, what could be act of goodness, and if we can start that thing. And I know that you cannot see it over there, if you don't mind.
Yes,
you know.
Before we go there, Brother Ram, we could give the gifts for a moment, and then we would probably sit here and then they can see the presentation. So for all of us, for all of you, we have a beautiful gift, a gift bag for your time, your insights, your wisdom that you shared. I know, just like Brother Ram just now said, a domino effect of goodness. What has happened today is a big thing. It is a small steps, but a big stride will happen in the future from this small step.
Yeah. So just one thing I want to bring, that you know, I am seeing all of you over here, you know, in your respective places. You can take this program and do it your way. There is no copyright in this program. You can change it, you can twist, turn, or whichever way. Because I have gone few places, they wanted to do the program, but they said they have to do it their way because they know their people. I said, yes. You know, change it the way you want it and all that. You can take as a kind of guideline, but you don't have to follow them. You can do it on your own respective way and respective people. If you can do that, even you need any help, we are ready to provide to you. So I just wanted to
Thank you very much. Yes, and I was just sharing that I'm sure a domino effect is going to happen from this, a big domino effect. Thank you very much, Brother Ram. So let's give him a big hand. And also all of our panelists for sharing their insights. Thank you. So here are our gift bags. The gift bags have a sweet, okay, for you all to sweet in your mouth. A book, right? About the Brahma Kumaris. And if you could show exactly what we have in there to everyone. This is the suite in there. There's a book by Sister Jayanti, a very senior meditation teacher with the Brahma Kumaris, called as Just a Moment. This is about the Brahma Kumaris in the US. It's an article about happiness. And this is a beautiful coffee mug. This is a beautiful coffee mug of Peace Village. This has a picture of Peace Village, which is our main retreat center of the United States. It's in upstate New York in the Cascade Mountains, close to Albany. Actually, I took this picture myself with this SLR camera, and I put it on this mug for every one of you. So thank you for coming, and here is your lovely mug.
Did you put that flyer in the Act of Business flyer?
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
Yes. There is some information about the 7 billion acts of goodness as well. And then we have another very senior meditation teacher who's going to come on Wednesday. He's coming from Mount Abu, the headquarters of the Brahma Kumaris. And the topic, where's that? Yeah. The topic is Awaken the Leader Within. It's Wednesday, July 26th at 6 to 7:30 p.m. It's in North Augusta. The flyers are available, free of cost. You're welcome to come and experience all the insights from this very senior meditation teacher. And we do offer free meditation courses. You can sign up for those. These are 3 to 5 or sometimes even 7 sessions. So you're welcome to participate in those if you like. All right, and so please join me in thanking each one of the panelists. Such amazing leaders of the society. I feel so honored, honestly, to be sitting with such esteemed people. And I request all of you to stay for just a little bit more after the presentation, the video presentation. Each one will get the same sweet that is in that box for you to take and sweeten your mouth, and a special blessing that has been created for each one of you. So please stay back for a little bit, and there will be a short meditation experience as well.
See, the video will give you some idea that what is all about, and some information about it. Second video is totally